Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. I'm Ian and it's another week, another preview show. And this time the attention and focus shifts towards GWS. And look, a lot has changed since the last time that we met in round 6. That stage, GWS, they were flying. They were on top of the ladder, undefeated. And now they find themselves on a 2-game losing streak, having won 2 games out of their last 6 outings. And currently they sit outside the top 8. I know they've had some injuries, to be fair, that haven't really helped with their form, but they're in a bit of a desperate position right now. They need to start winning games and turn their season around so it doesn't fall away. And meanwhile, Carlton, well, we're on top of the world. We're on a 5-game winning streak, sitting second on the ladder and starting to put together some really impressive performances and wins. And now the media are starting to see us finally as that true contender. But with that being said, we know GWS, they're going to come out strong against us. They're at home. They're under pressure. A scout like us could be the spark that they need. We simply need to be prepared and be at our best. So taking a bit of a look back, trying to reflect, how did we beat them last time? And what do we need to do this time to get the 4 points? I want to know your thoughts on this one. So drop them in the comments if you're watching on YouTube here at Blue Abroad, or if you're listening in audio form, head over to the socials at Navy Blue Corner. They'll be in the description in the show notes to link you straight away. So it's nice and easy. What do we have to do to win? I want to know. Let me know in the comments, because I think looking at GWS and trying to focus a little bit on their strengths, we know that they love to move the ball quickly by hand. They rank number 1 for handballs in the AFL so far this season. We saw that last time in round 6. Early on, we probably struggled to defend the ground and stifle them in transition. They moved the ball far too easily, put us under a lot of pressure, particularly in the front half. Their forward 50 tackles was really, really impressive. They were forcing turnovers, forcing repeat entries for themselves. And that area of the game took us a while to probably adjust. And it was only really in that third quarter that we finally got on top of them. We finally kicked away. And that has been a trend. That has been something that we've come to know as of late, this real 15-minute patch for Carlton to take a game away. That GWS game was the first time that we've seen that in this season. And I think in particular on that day, round 6, our dominance in center clearances was really the key to our victory. We ended up being plus 14 in center clearances, something that has continued to be one of our strengths. We are currently the number 1 ranked side in center clearances. GWS, well, they're 11th. So this is a clear strength that we need to exploit once again. And GWS, they have a really good and tough midfield. They rank number 2 for contested possession, sitting just behind us in first. So you know that they're going to bring the heat in the middle. I guess what is surprising me right now is that by the looks of things, by the trends and stats of this season, GWS, for whatever reason, have just been unable to turn those contested numbers into clearances. Even in stoppage clearances, they rank 7th. We rank 5th. And the one thing, though, that they are very effective in with their high possession numbers is creating scoring chances inside 50. Currently, they're 3rd for marks inside 50, while for comparison, we're 10th. That's a big difference. You know, they're a team that can really hurt you on the outside. We know that one of our weaknesses has been when we allow teams to run and carry and move the ball with speed. So I think that this is one of the areas that over the last month or so, we've been really strong in defending that. Our team defense right now is probably the best that I've ever seen it. And we've been ruthless with our pressure. The Geelong game, well, we took that to a whole nother level. And even against Richmond, we won the tackle count by 14. I think if we're able to bring that same pressure that we saw against a team like Geelong, then I know this is probably a little bit arrogant, but I just can't see us losing, because I think we match them in the contest, if not beat them. We're definitely a better clearance side. And if it's just about being able to stifle and stop their ball movement, Well, our team defense has just been so incredibly stable of late that I trust that so much right now. We've kept our opposition to that beautiful hashtag 75 or below in our last 5 games and last 5 wins. I think do that again, and I trust that we get the win. It's going to be tough. I'm definitely not taking GWS lightly at all. It's just that I have so much confidence in and belief in us right now and everything that we're doing. I don't really fear anyone that we're playing. And as I said on the Richmond review episode, we will lose a game at some stage. Maybe it's one that we don't expect, like you saw, Sydney losing against Freo. But I know that we'll bounce back and we will learn from it. Our best matches, if not exceeds Sydney, the best team in the comp right now. It's just about us being able to do that consistently and being able to do it for longer. Do that this week and we win. So let's jump in to Grill the Corner. This is where I try to answer the listener questions. Chuck them out on the socials at Navy Blue Corner again on Twitter, and Instagram is where we normally ask for them. And we've got some absolute rippers this week that they're going to be hard for me to answer. I know it's called Grill the Corner. That's kind of the whole point. I'm not allowed to fence sit. I must answer these questions. But much like I asked earlier, I want to know from you guys your thoughts on these because there's some really interesting questions and I'm going to need all the help I can get. So your answers to these in the comments below and head over to the socials at Navy Blue Corner and let me know your thoughts. The first one comes in from the great Mark Lydiard, who asks, how many games should Brad ruck between now and finals? And it's an interesting topic. We cover it every single review show, preview show, and we're going to be covering it every single week, I think, this season. We're still not certain what the best mix is. I think a lot think it's TDK, and, it's hard to argue against that. We know Vossi loves the dual rucks. He loves playing pit. I think there's always a role for this. But how many games from now till the rest of the season? Well, there's 8 regular season games left. Both ruckmen are healthy. I'm going to put it out and say that he plays half of those because, Voss clearly loves the 2 rucks. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw him a lot more than that. Weirdly, to almost pivot, and maybe you can call this out as a fence sit, so let me know if it is. It's just what I'm really interested in seeing with the whole ruck situation right now is if this becomes a bit more of a matchup-based selection or whether the 2 rucks is 100% the nailed-on preferred system. And trying to look ahead at those fixtures, not a lot of the teams that we're coming up against play that 2 rucks or really have that exceptional second ruck. Maybe that will mean that we don't see the dual rucks if it's not a matchup type system that we're looking for right now. I'm not sure. I'm very keen to find out. So let me know your thoughts in the comments on how many games you think Brad should play. Because coming up, we are playing some really good ruckmen. We play Doggies soon with Tim English, and Rowan Marshall is there as well for St Kilda coming up, and even Collingwood. They play a bit more of the 2 rucks if Mason Cox is fit and available. Is that the kind of game that we're going to see Brad? It's going to be interesting. So let me know your thoughts. The next question comes in from Daniel Britton, who asks, do you think this extra level we can go to in games where we kick 5 to 9 goals in the space of 5 to 10 minutes is all due to us playing in those close games the last few years and us just working hard on making sure we have that level to put a margin on a team? And I love the way you phrase this, Daniel. And another great question. You always seem to bring in some of the best. So big shout out to you. And I think it must play a part. You look at what this team's been through, this journey along the way. And I was listening to the Prendercast earlier today, listening to their Richmond review, and they were bringing up even the heartache of that last round against Collingwood that kicked us out of finals and just what those little moments can do to a team and does it kickstart you? Does it make you fall away? And clearly it's been something that motivated us to get better. And I think that this is something I haven't necessarily thought about as far as our ability to go to that extra level, to shift that gear in games. But I think it must it must be something that subconsciously has made us do it, playing in those tight games, whether we've won them or lost them. You must learn through those experiences that you can't be doing this every single time. It is great, and it shows resilience that we have been able to, over the last year or so, win a lot of these really tight contests and come out on top. But when those games are tight, whether it's second, third quarter, you need to be able to kick away. You need to be able to shut teams down within 5-10 minutes. Bang, game's gone. And in previous years, we've still seen that level. And a big part of this is clearly personnel and talent. We've got those better players. We've got that potent midfield and forward line to get that done. That's going to play, 50, 60, 70% in this. But also, we had seen us kind of hold on in a lot of those games. We'd lose the momentum. So I think maybe there's an aspect where the team defense and the confidence of being able to hold on in those tight games maybe gives us the faith that, well, if we can do that when the most pressure is on at the death of games, why can't we do that for 4 quarters? Why can't, when we get that run on, when we have that scoring flurry, what is stopping us from being able to shut the game down defensively and not let a team in after that? So I think, winning those tight games and the confidence that builds can surely play a part. And I love that perspective. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Has that been a key component as to why we've started to see these 5 to 9 goals, absolute blistering patches in quarters? Let me know. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. And the last question comes in from Fraser Ems, and he asked an absolute cracker here to finish these off. It is, has Cripps got better now that he's a father? And this has been something I think we've spoken a little bit on the podcast over the last year or so, thinking about the maturity of the squad now that we've had that shift where we played finals last year, made a prelim. We're trying to contend right now, finish in the top 4, get a top 2 finish, trying to win a flag right now. We've talked about that maturity of the players and that a lot of that group, not only are they a bit older, but they're starting to have children and have to be a lot more responsible and mature in their personal life. You look at guys like McGovern, Jack Martin, some that we've maybe questioned a little bit throughout the past few years. And it's insane how maybe something as simple as that has had a massive effect on some of these players. And then you look at Cripps, there's always that worry with a newborn parent. I mean, look, who am I to give any advice or really know the ins and outs of this? I don't have any kids myself, so I'm probably not the best person to ask, but you often hear that clearly those first few months are horrific. You're up all night, you don't get the sleep, the baby's crying, needs all your attention. It's a big life-altering shift. There's a part of you that worries, was Cripper going to struggle with all those external things happening? But he has been that guy that he's had a lot of things going on in his personal life throughout some of the years, and we've still seen him play some of his best football, and he's almost gone to another level this season and since he's had a kid. So maybe he is better off now that, he has another aspect of his life that he has to lead in and standing up. Maybe there's that element of, finality to things. He's got a new chapter in his life that's going to be where his attention goes to. How long does he have as an AFL footballer now that, the adult responsibilities are starting? Does that play on the mind as well of this is the time to do it? It's now or never. This is the perfect time for the group to lift. They're becoming maturer. I love that question. I think it's interesting that a lot of these players seem to be getting better now that they're having kids. Maybe that's something they all need to do to grow a little bit more and have that maturity. Thanks, Fraser, for the great question. We'll jump straight into the blueprint to victory now. And I wanted to start with team selection. Now, looking at the injury report that has dropped, we've got Matt Kennedy was the big one we were all worrying about. He's actually escaped the serious injury, as I'm sure you all know, and he's a test to play this week, which seems insane considering we thought could be an MCL. It could be months out, potentially the whole season. So thank God he is, has escaped that serious injury, and he could be good to go this week. The other few injuries to update are De Koning is a test to play this week after being managed. And the other one was another miraculous injury report is that Cottrell's a test to play this week. The only other thing, I guess, to consider for team selection was going to be Jordan Boyd. So I want to talk about that a little bit. He was initially suspended for 1 week for his front-on contact with Ryan Mansell. And that may have been the longest tribunal trial I've ever seen for such a nothing incident. It was a 1 week, pretty insignificant. David Zeta said it. I know Carlton fans went back at him, but in the context of the AFL, a Jordan Boyd 1 week suspension, it's not that big glamorous case that maybe needs 2 hours to be deliberated after you've already spent 2.5 hours, giving the evidence and making your case. I think in the end, it was the right decision. I wouldn't have maybe have been ridiculously upset if it was 1 week, because I understand what the AFL are doing right now. They're trying to look after the head contact, and look, Jordan Boyd, he did go into that contest with a lot of pace front on, and there was some heavy contact as far as the speed of it. But where I sit with it thinking it shouldn't have been a week, and what a lot of people clearly believe is that Mansell ducks his head into it. And as soon as the ball carrier decides to initiate that contact, put themselves in a position of danger, at what stage are we saying there's a duty of care for the ball carrier to not put themselves in danger? And when they initiate the contact, I think it's clear that even though, Jordan Boyd was a little clumsy, a little careless in certain aspects, he barely hit him. There was no issues. It was so low in the impact. Give him a fine. That's enough. So Boydie is free to play this week. Although, who knows? Maybe we're going to have to manage him because the trial was that late. The poor man, he was sitting there for hours and hours. He could be out from sleep deprivation this week, poor Jordan Boyd, which, that'd be a bit funny if in the end we manage him or rest him after going through all that. Who knows? But I'm going to say he is ready to play. And as far as my changes for this week, I'm going pretty safe with it. I am saying that Kennedy, you've had the knee knock, you've had the knee twist, the issue. Not going to worry about it. Take your time. George Hewitt can come straight in, play that role. And I just think that that's a simple solution to that injury and just give him that time to heal and be 100%. The other one, might be a bit stiff on Piro, and I still am someone that believes that the 2-ruck system has a place for us this season. However, when I was trying to move someone else out of this team, I just couldn't find anyone to do it. And De Koning needs to come back in. His form has been all-Australian-esque the last month or so, being that solo ruck. So I'm saying De Koning in for Pitternet, which I think is stiff. But looking through that list, guys that maybe we were saying over the last few weeks, could they make way, particularly highlighting a guy like Fantasia? Well, he's just had his best game for Carlton all season. I'm not dropping him after that at all. I like the dynamic of what that opportunity cost of the 2 rucks. Bring in a player that can run, can use the ball a little bit better. Does it allow us to be a little bit more versatile? And I know with the Kennedy injury and me not playing him this week, we lose another ruckman, I know you can say, because he, Cripps and Harry have kind of been taking those other ruck contests when the solo ruck hasn't been there. But I just think we're losing too much if we're playing the 2 rucks right now. And I don't think anyone deserves to go out on form, which means there's one more spot. It's the sub. Who plays it? Who is the sub? I'm going a bit rogue with this one. Now, I'm not sure if Cunningham has played enough minutes in the VFL over the last few weeks. He's played the last 2 games. If they believe his body's right and good to go, I would love to see him as the sub. The type of player he is, that front half attacking, great, ball skills. He's great by foot. He bursts away. He creates things. That's the kind of sub that I want. The type of player he is exactly, let me write up the attributes of a sub that I'm looking for. Cunningham sort of fits every single one of those. And I'm looking at other options. Jack Carroll, we've seen him play the sub quite a lot. Jackson Binns, Motlop, maybe. Not sure. I don't love all those options as much as I like the idea of Cunningham. Don't see him breaking in to the team 100% right now into that starting squad, but I like him as the sub. Bit of an impact play. That's where I'd go. Probably not looking at Cottrell this week. I think being that longer term injury, missing so much football right now, I just want him to play VFL, get a bit of match sharpness rather than just straight up fitness. And if I said that with Chera last week where I went, give him an extra week, I'm definitely playing it safe with Matty Cottrell and his stress response to his foot. It's a serious injury. Let's make sure he's all good and just make sure he's fresh and ready to go, because guys like Elijah Hollins have kind of taken that role. And with Fantasia playing the way he did last week, sorry, Cottrell, you're going to have to prove it before you can come in. I like that we have those standards a little bit more right now, where you can only come in if you're performing. You know, Motlop didn't walk straight back into this side, and now our small forwards are playing the best they have all season. It's going to be hard for him to break in. I think we all still see a guy like Motlop in our best squad, but it's going to be hard for him to break in. He needs someone to have a poor week. He needs to have a good week in the VFL. But those are my team changes this week. Hewitt in for Kennedy, TDK in for Pitternet, and then I'm going Cunningham the sub. But let me know your team changes this week. It's always an interesting thing to discuss. Give me your ins. Most importantly, tell me who makes way, who is out of the team, and give me your reasons as well. It's always a great discussion, and I'll be in the comments after this show is on to have a bit of a discussion with you all. And I guess with the team selection, we probably need to have a bit of a look at GWS and what they're doing. They don't have Sam Taylor again. Feels like this guy hasn't played us in years. Almost every single time we come up against them, he's not available. Really an injury that we don't wish upon anyone, Sam Taylor, right now. Hope he's doing well. Hope he gets better. But I'm glad if he is missing any games, it's against us. So they're a little bit undermanned in defense, not having their best key defender. But Buckley and Ali are really good defenders. We saw them cause us some troubles last time, especially Ali and what he's able to do with his athleticism and jumping over the pack to spoil it. If we can really stifle their influence and create a bit more separation, I think that's a really good spot for us to get the win this week. And also the rise of the small forwards and the rest of that dynamic forward line has been a really impressive thing to see, that if they do happen to stifle the influence of Harry and Charlie, I now really believe that the others will step up and take over that space. So that's an injury that we're kind of works in our favor this week. And another one that is bad for GWS, really good for us, is that Josh Kelly will miss and he'll be out for about 4 or 5 weeks. Really, the Rolls Royce for them, we know his quality and his leadership in that team. Taking him out is great for us with the midfield, knowing that they're the number 2 contested side in the competition right now, just haven't probably been making the impact off those possessions, losing one of their, top 3 midfielders. That's music to my ears, knowing that our midfield, apart from, Kennedy, which we can bring Hewitt in to replace very similar kind of players. We've got Chera back, Walsh and Cripper are firing. Our midfield's at the peak of its powers. They've only just got Cornelio back. They're still trying to get up and about. I think having one of their keys out is big for us. So now we pivot to the last segment of the GWS preview. It is, what do you want to see? And much like all the other segments so far, I want to know from you guys, what do you want to see from this match? Obviously, we want the win. That's clear. You can't say that. That's too easy. I want you to go specific. This is where you can even throw in a couple of predictions yourself. I've been lucky a few times wanting a Sam Walsh goal and a big celebration. So what are your predictions for this game? Drop them in the comments. Let us know at Navy Blue Corner on the socials. What do you want to see? Is there a player performance that you're after? Do you want pressure? What do you want to see this week, let me know, because my big one, it's pretty simple. Touched on it earlier at the start of this preview, and it's pressure. It's pressure and intent to tackle. And the big reason that I want that to be the key focal point this week, it's not only just to stifle their ball movement, but the last time that we played GWS, we registered our second lowest number of tackles inside 50. We not only couldn't get the ball in there, but our pressure wasn't good enough to keep it in there. And this has been something that has been a big component of our game this season. Our team defense, when it's firing, has led to a lot of wins, keeping them under that hashtag 75, and particularly being able to keep the ball inside 50, create those repeat entries, create multiple chances in front of goal, get those turnovers. That's been massive. We're the number one side right now for tackles inside 50. We've had 209. The next best is 194 from Port. So we've got a little bit of separation there. We average 13.9 tackles inside 50. So we know we bring the pressure. Even tackle-wise, we're third right now. GWS, they're fifth. So they do bring a bit of pressure around the ground. Their tackles inside 50, however, definitely nowhere near as good, rate quite low for that. So I want to see that be the big focal point. We've talked in recent weeks about what can we learn from previous games against these opposition. That's my one this week. Right the wrong of the tackles inside 50. Be hungry, cause those turnovers, and be potent off the back of it. Get those goals from Fantasia, Fogarty when the ball hits the ground from those tackles. That's my big what do you want to see. And a few of the others, I'm going personal with this one. I'm going towards a player. And I think we've seen over the last month in particular, this 5-run win streak, that it's been those lesser talked about players that have had some standout games. And that's been really, really impressive to see. Really everyone in this 22-23 has had a game or two this season that you can look back on and say that was their big game. They had their moment. They're one to stand out and shine, that all the fans can really reflect on and think very positively on it and see their role, get that a bit of reward for effort. And right now there's probably only one player, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but I think Ollie Hollands has probably been the only one that I'm looking back this season that hasn't had that big game like he had last season, where he's the one you talk about at the end of the game, along with all the stars. You go, man, Ollie Hollands this week was unreal. And that's not to say that he's been bad this season. He's played his role. He's been absolutely fine. I just want to see him shine this week. I want this to be Ollie's turn. I think the last few weeks you've had Fantasia, Fogarty, Lockie Cowan has stood out as well, Matty Owies. I want this to be Ollie Holland's big breakout week where everyone gets a little bit of a reminder of just how good this player is. Because I think right now he's probably the only one that is maybe sat at that 6 or 7 each week. I want this to be the 10 out of 10 game for Ollie Holland. So I look forward to sitting back at the end of the game, GWS, back at the review on Monday and being absolutely chuffed that Ollie Hollands has played maybe even his best game for Carlton so far. And my last, what do you want to see for this week for the GWS preview show is I want to see the effect that a confidence-building performance like the Richmond game has on Orazio Fantasia. I definitely did not expect him to kick 4 against Richmond, and I'm not expecting him to kick 4 every single week. Hell, he doesn't even need to kick 1 this week. His form has kind of been building, but it really exploded in that Richmond game. So I'm very interested to see if this unlocks a bit of confidence for him and we start to see him really playing that important role that it looks like the coaches have set for him, that they've been impressed in seeing each and every week, which is why he's been selected. Because, and I don't mean this to be like a bit of a backhanded compliment, but we've seen little glimpses and little moments in games of Fantasia, but we haven't seen that 4-quarter performance where every fan goes, yes, that's why he's in this team. That's what he's doing, and he's bringing something positively. creating more space for others with his running patterns, putting on a bit of pressure, having one or two breakaway moments with a nice kick inside 50. It hasn't been enough. We want more. When we've got guys like Cottrell coming back from injury, there is this competition from spots. And all of us maybe haven't thought that Orazio has warranted the selection with his form. He's gone out there, proven everyone wrong, hopefully starting to get the fans on side, because there's a level of this. There's a level of critique on Fantasia where you can be objective and want for more. And then there's the negative side where fans are jeering him a little bit. They're very upset. They're very angry that he's getting selected, that I don't want to see. And if you want the best monologue, you know it. You've heard it on Blue Abroad already from the great Terry Degani. If you haven't, make sure you find it and listen to it. He absolutely nails it. But now that Orazio has had this confidence-building performance, I want to see what his reaction is. Hopefully this can be the launch pad, because a few things that I really liked from him that I noticed more than ever was a bit more leadership in the forward line. He was instructing players to be in the right places. He was calming guys down when they made a mistake or when they were having a set shot on goal. Seems like because he is one of the more experienced players in the team and in that forward line, that he has that quality. We spoke about that in pre-season. I like that I'm starting to see that effect on others in person, and I hope that that continues this week. And who knows, maybe we're going to see an absolute blistering 4-goal performance from him again, like we've seen, Zach Williams have a few weeks kicking a few goals. But that's what I want to see this week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you've thought on everything so far. What's the key to victory? What's your predictions for this week? I want to know it all. But that is going to wrap up our GWS preview show for this week. I'm confident, as always, that we will get a result, and I'll be excited to be back here next week talking about a win. Up the bloody baggers. See you guys next time.